How y'all doing? We're here at Nicholas, Brooklyn. We have Elder Gabar. We have Awanyawsap, all right, representing Underground Railroad. Y'all hear it here first. You know Brother Rich, he don't play. You know how we do with the interviews and whatnot. So basically, we're going to get right into this. Ask these two brothers the tough questions. I know you've seen them in the debate, tearing up Shaka Utmost book, Shaka Utmost tearing them up and back and forth. So everybody want to see who's the real victors in the whole thing. And a lot of questions didn't get proposed at the debate, and a lot of people don't get to see them on the streets like they should, because some people will be at work or whatever the case. So these are the questions that the people have that will get answered here tonight on Underground Railroad. All right. Elder Gabar, anything you want to say first? Then we're going to pass it to Awanyawsap. Yeah. How you pronounce your name properly, brother?
It's Brother Awanyawsap.
Awanyawsap.
Yeah, Awanyawsap, yeah.
I'm going to tell you now, I'm going to forget that. Awanyawsap. Yeah. All right.
Well, thank you, brothers. You know, it's a pleasure, coming to this historical store, Nicholas, Brooklyn, and also is also a pleasure to be part of the Underground Railroad. I know I've been a big fan for many years, so I'm happy to be here, and it's always a pleasure to share and be asked our opinion about anything. So it's an honor. My overview in regards of the debate and things of that nature. We wasn't worried about the winning or the losing situation, because anybody that goes against the scriptures, and this is not a situation being boasted and things of that nature, is a common sense that the Bible makes a claim that no one has disproven, and people that are smarter, greater have tried before, and they always have failed. And usually these type of talks about the Bible being plagiarized and things of that nature is old arguments. Every generation it comes back up again and things of that nature. So we was kind of prepared and knew where people were going before they went there. So what we wanted to do is basically, of course, first and foremost, preach the gospel. And also before I even start this interview, I want to give all praise to the Most High, the God of Israel, the God of our forefathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and our cause and our Lord and Savior Yeshua, the Messiah. So what I feel that what we wanted to do, we did. We wanted to get ourselves noticed out there. We wanted to kind of start networking with other Hebrew camps. We're actually doing that now. We're actually doing an event April 5th, as you know, National Black Theater. It's, I know the Kemetic community are going to go down with the ship, and they're never going to admit their loss. I told Polite prior to the debate, I said, this is your opportunity to change my perception of Egypt. Okay, and if you win that, if you just change the perception, give it a situation that there is a possibility that Egypt was not conducting themselves the way I assume they were conducting themselves from all the research I have done. In regards to, we all know all the walls and the papyrus and all the things, the contention with Horus and Set, the god Nu giving himself fellatio, and so forth. We're familiar with these things. Yeah. And what I want to tell him is that this is your opportunity for you to shine, to correct me, to see if what I'm seeing and what I'm reading is incorrect.
So basically clear up the illustrations, Exactly,
yeah. And so... Well, basically, what I want is to clear that up, to make sure that, and I told them honestly, sincerely, brother, if I was wrong, then I'll apologize. What happened is that I think they were attempting to try to maybe rationalize a lot of the unrationable, or you can't explain away a God, regardless whether it's a God or regardless whether it is a man giving himself fellatio. You can explain away the immorality within Egypt. Now, do I believe that all Egypt was wicked and evil? No, but I believe Egypt is a good example when you give a society too much freedom, and you give them the freedom of speech, the freedom not the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion, to express religion as you see fit. and not create a standard. This is what it is. We are not the creator. We are the createe. He created us. He gave us the blueprint. Let's follow that. Egypt is a good example of when man begins to philosophize that and create their own kind of way of different paths of spirituality. You end up, giving yourself fellatio. You end up doing all kinds of crazy situation, or worshiping gods that do that to themselves. What kind of mind would produce that type of behavior? And then more came out in the things that even I didn't know in regards of shoving crocodile manure into women's vagina for birth controls, and that makes a lot of sense because, as you know, brother, in the Hebrew Bible, the Egyptian was being threatened because the Hebrew women were mass producing a lot of children, right? Now that makes sense that when you go into America, what they promote birth controls. Correct. There's nothing new under the sun. So they were forming. I think they took the crocodile manure, some. What is it? Some flour and some honey or something. Mix it up and kind of.
The main thing is that crocodile manure.
Right.
It's that main thing that had people like.
Exactly, and we're not saying that it's bad or evil. What we're saying is it's not Hebrew. So you can't, in one breath, say you stole stuff from us, and when you look into your records, it's the polar opposite in what we stand for. Correct. So if the Egypt influenced the Bible, or the Hebrews, it influenced us on what not to do. It was totally the opposite. If they're doing that, you do this. And even in Brother Deacon Amos, I brought it out, even from basic stuff, like for instance, when the Hebrews, when we mourn, we shave our beard to mourn, right? And we put our clothes of a soft cloth, a mourning clothes. And within the Kemetic community, they do the opposite. They let their beard grow. Okay, and you notice how when you see in movies or any form of literature, when someone is having a time of mourning, they lost a family member, they lock themselves in their house, they don't shave and things of that nature. They don't keep their and things of that nature. That goes to show you that many culture that is being kept in America were kept in Egypt. America is Egypt. It's another form. It was just Rome adopted many of the Egyptian culture. That culture landed over here in America, and you can't. If you're going to blame anybody of stealing your heritage, blame the Romans, blame America. Right, don't blame the Hebrews.
Stop right there, because now you just lit a fire, or should I say, exploded a volcano. When you say certain things of that nature, dealing with the Kemetic community and the Hebrewic community. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? So on those different points that you made, we're going to touch on each one because it have people that have questions on certain ones. All right? So we're going to get into the questions after Deacon Awanyawsap, hope I said it right, says his opening, and then we're going to go full into the questions. So whatever basically you say, we're going to go down those lines, plus with the other questions that's out there.
Shalom to all the viewers. Peace to all the Hebrew camps. Shout out to Nicholas Bookstore. I don't really have anything to say. I'm here with my elders, so I just want to say all praise to the Most High in the name of Christ Yeshua. And we just here to represent the Hebrew community.
All right. Basically, so now we're going to get into it. One of the first question is from the people is that they see you all really, when y'all first hit the scene, and even now, seem on a more plain clothes type of view. They still will see the fringes and whatnot, but they don't see you with the 6-point star. We're going to get into that. And they don't see you like on the comment board. Some people, got some real funny people out there on both sides, Kemetic and the Hebrewic community. Yeah. And they're like, oh, the Power Ranger outfits and whatnot. So basically, why have GOCC took a stance on not doing that? And if you do that, why that is not being showed that you will have that type of apparel on when you're out there in the streets teaching or in the church or wherever?
Well, Paul said you got to be all things to all men. So what we realized that the garments became a distraction, and people were looking more at the garments rather than with the word. I remember being a young man when I was 20 years old, and I used to see the brothers in 42nd Street. The garments took me some time to get adjusted to it. I didn't understand what they were they Muslims, but I see that they really want the Bible. So I was able to overcome that and still hear what the brothers are saying, and eventually became a member. So we decided, just to dress down, just dress just like everybody else. To show we are like everybody else. And we, as on the debate, we had our garments and all that, and we presented. We usually wear our garments in the Sabbath and also in our feast days. But sometimes you got to reach the people. You got to, don't allow something to get in the way. Sometimes these garments do get in the way because they don't understand it. Sometimes the flamboyancy of it gets in the way and becomes strange to people, and they cannot relate in things of that nature. Many people that have come to the GOCC, we were not the first Hebrew camp or church they were watching, but we were the one that's like, okay, I could relate to these people, because they're like me, and so forth, so on. So it's more like a marketing strategy than anything else, and that was it. There's nothing negative in regards to brothers bringing the garment. We are proud of our garments and our culture. It's just a marketing tool to try to gain the people and things of that nature.
All right, as you said that, it have a lot of people. The reason why I would say that's a good strategy, because it have a lot of people that would say, well, you know what? I could get with those brothers because how they dress. And at first, when y'all first came on the scene, what I mean by came on the scene, like when y'all was, when you had to sit down with Shaka on Sanetta's TV and the other events that took place, people saw more of y'all, and y'all seemed to have more of a softer nature. People didn't see y'all doing the set of the yelling and the different type of aspects of, Hebrew Israelites doing. Of course, we know when they're yelling is to reach the people. Saying that, a lot of people felt more comfortable in dealing with y'all, so that I could say, from what I hear what the people are saying, that strategy do work. Mm-hmm. Now, on the flip side, you might have some people say, y'all were not hard enough, or whatever the case, but after that debate, you're hearing people saying stuff different now. They're like, oh, wow. Especially when y'all did that lecture where y'all was breaking down Shaka's book. Mm-hmm. So, in that aspect, have you had more people come to you because of that, since y'all hit on the scene and y'all expose yourself full-fledged, like, listen, this is what we're about, we're no punks, and yes, we dress like this, and this is how we move. Mm-hmm. Could you elaborate on that with other people coming to you since then?
Well, I think it has been successful. I think we have had 3 people coming to our church so far from the Kemetic community, of those that were in the fence. One brother actually in Philly, we have a Philly congregation. He actually came to the event, and he got in contact with the deacon, my deacon over there. It's been successful. We actually got another brother Victorious, from the Imam Bashir debate, and basically that's what we're here for. If we could get one soul and baptize one individual, we're good, and that's basically what we're here for. It's marketing. It's getting our name out there, and with the Hebrew situation, and myself and Nasi and Brother Nashar, we were building, and we were saying, it's gonna once if we do this successful alliance, and clearly we're gonna have people that Old Testament, New Testament, and then they're gonna see, okay, I don't want to deal with the New Testament, I want to deal with the Old Testament, and vice versa. So differences of doctrines are gonna be basically there, but eventually once we iron out those little differences and things of that nature, we basically saying the same thing with minor differences. A lot of it is gonna be more what spirit, what kind of camp goes with my spirit. If I'm a warrior, I like Ashar, I'm gonna go with Ashar. I like Nasi the way he teaches. I like GOCC. So it's not going to be necessarily us banging at each other. Don't go there because he's wicked, or they're not dealing with the doctrine, because we're not doing that anymore. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be the things we do disagree. We're not going to be disagreeable. We're going to just say this is how we see it, and let the people decide. Because eventually, some people that don't believe that Christ is the Messiah and don't agree with the scriptures, I always gonna believe that. For the most part, we don't have to knock them, and vice versa. And to be honest with you, other than GOCC in regards of sections, there's really 2 sections: Old Testament, New Testament. The New Testament pretty much say the same thing. I mean, GOCC is really only whack out different doctrine. We go by a different calendar. We go by a different name. We go, we accept other books and things of that nature. But overall, most of the Hebrew camps are saying pretty much the same thing, right? So what is the deal? Why did it come together? I think a lot of it's more personality. I think okay, if we cannot come together under one leadership, right, or the majority of the brothers that deal with the New Testament, okay, let's have different camps, but have the different leaders of those different camps come together. Okay. And you get what I'm saying? Because the one leader thing, it could have worked in the 90s, but I think we lost that opportunity, and I don't think there's going to be. I don't see, other than Christ, of course, a man coming in unifying all of us. I just don't see that. I don't see one guy or one organization doing that. So let's start beating against the grid. Let's start going. So let's, adjust. We could come together independently, and like I said, outside of GOCC, in regards to doctrine, they're mostly saying different things. Basically, you're going to go with whoever camp goes with your spirit. In kind of situation, but we all united when we need to be. You're still building your own personal church and things of that nature, but then we all united. So that, yeah.
So basically, the ultimate mission is the unity of the people,
right?
And once everybody get on the same page, to bring them to Christ,
right.
Yahushua.
Right, exactly.
All right. In saying so, since you brought up with different doctrines and whatnot, one of the big issue is, which a lot of people also know they do at the debate, is what is it with the quote-unquote 6-point star, which others know it as the shield of David, that some Hebrews deal with and some Hebrews don't. And what is GOCC stands on the shield of David / star of David?
Okay. When you go into the scriptures, the majority of the kings of Israel went off. I think there was only David was righteous, but he committed adultery, and the Most High almost killed him because of that. Forgive them. Solomon, he started worshiping other gods and began to introduce what you call the shield of Moloch, or the star of Moloch. That's what we believe. That's when that shield was introduced. So however, the 6-point star. However, you could find the shield of David or the 6-pointed star, the hexagram, in the Hebraic culture. I'm not disagreeing with that. The argument, the reason why we backed away from it until it is valid, validated by scripture or some secular historical, seal that said this is the shield, the Malach of David. What is the shield in the Hebrew? Magan. So we do know so there's nothing that has been found that specifically identified that star as the shield of David.
So hold on. So when they had the teachings, because I've seen certain teachings where they show, they say how you write David name in Hebrew is like a triangle going up and triangle going down, and they combined it. Is there
a correlation with that?
Yeah, is there a correlation with that, or is just that you're still waiting for more historical evidence to show that?
Yeah, like we were looking at that, and that's a very good point. I know Brother Tazariak brought that out and things of that nature. And like I said, we could be wrong, you know. And we looked at all the various, like all the research that I have done, that regards of other extra biblical writings of David. That the shield that he had, there was a legend that he had a shield with God's name in it. There's another legend that he had a shield with the Hebrew alphabet. There's another name that he had names with different angels. There's nothing physically taking that shield to David and specifically. So the problem is that we live in that, you know, our policy in the GOCC, if it's in the scriptures, we do it. If it's not, you know, we don't do it. And because, you know, Satan is a worthy adversary, as you know. Right. You know, so we have to be very careful, because when we look at the history on that shield, you could pay some arguments of it. Like for instance, the Most High's favorite flower is it's an apocrypha. It makes a symbol like the 6 point. It has like 6 blooms. It blooms with well, some blooms with 6, some bloom with 7, some bloom with 8, but it also has that symbol and things of that nature. So all those things are valid argument. However, we not seen anything that has connected that particular emblem to archaeological or even biblically. I mean, I would imagine something that important, you would find something biblically in reference of that. What we do know for sure that the only thing the Most High actually commanded us to write was the commandments. And put it in stones, put it between your eyes, between your necks. Meaning, if you have, you know, the Torah, put the 10 Commandments, put it, you know, in your arms. That's why the so-called Jews, they got that strap thing. But right. He wasn't talking about that. He was talking about because, you know, back then we used to have these bracelets and things of that nature. So meaning you put them in your bracelet. So if you look down, you see the 10 Commandments. When people are talking to you, you see the Most High's name. Or, you know, when people are talking, you see the 10 Commandments. Put it all over you, where you would never forget it.
All right. So basically, that you brought up the 10 Commandments. You know what mantras are?
Yes.
Okay. Could you use the 10 Commandments as a form of a mantra? Also, what is the case with the 10 Commandments? Because a lot of people say that's part of different negative confessions of Ma'at that was taken out. Because a lot of people don't mention the laws, statutes, and commandments. So when people go into that, they say it's a form of Ma'at and whatnot. You understand what I'm saying? So what is the whole correlation just with that 10 Commandments alone? You understand my question? Is it a quote-unquote plagiarized version of Ma'at? And how do you use it to better yourself other than following it, but as you say, wearing it? And actually, is there a way you recite it as a mantra to get better energy flowing through your body and whatnot? Could you break that down?
Yes, I mean, in the scripture says, "Meditate on my laws." So that's meditation. That's that's what people go said. Dealing with with yoga and meditating and things like that. Absolutely. Now going back to your question in regards of plagiarism of Ma'at, and this is my research, and I want all Comedics to correct me if I'm wrong. When the negative confession is the declaration that your soul is saying when he's about to pass or she's about to pass into the afterworld. It's transition. So what the soul is saying, that's just not what I have done. Now, what my body has done is a different story. But I'm innocent of these acts because I have not done it. But my flesh is a different situation. So from what
Stop right there. So basically what you're saying is when it comes into that, they're talking about the outer body experience. Right. Don't blame the outer body for what the inner body has done. This vessel. Exactly. That's what you explain? Exactly.
From my research. From my research in things of that nature. Now, as you notice, there's 3 versions of Ma'at, and they change a little bit, you know, and things of that nature. That's why the whole controversial, when somebody will say, well, I read the Nebuchadnezzar Confession, and it didn't say I have not slept with mankind, right? But then they'll go into another website or another version and says I have not fornicated with a man boy. They'll say something like that, right? So they're saying which one is the correct one, because each, you know, Pharaoh kind of created his own version of it, you know.
So basically what you're saying is there is more than one, because a lot of Kemetic people don't even know that. There's more than one done by different pharaohs?
Right, at different times. You know, with the whole homosexual situation, one says, I have not fornicated with man. Another one says, I have not copulated. And another one says, I have not fornicated. And there is some controversy about that, because the Europeans who was translating these metal netters, some of them were undercover homosexual. That later on came out, so that maybe they wanted to maybe craft it in a way to say, or, you know. So so I'm not knocking that and things of that nature. But when you go into the confession, like for instance, it gets repeated 3 times within the 42. I have not stolen from the gods or the temples, because, you know, grave robbers was big back then. Right. So there's many things that, you know, I have not polluted the Nile, you know, because that's like their life force and things of that nature. So they created the stuff that was some was universal. I have not stolen. I have not treated somebody deceitfully, I believe, or I have not been angry without a cause and things of that nature. Matter of fact, I would love to see one of these brothers, Kemetic brothers, to actually do a breakdown on the Nebuchadnezzar Confession, what to break it down, because you know, because some of them they repeat it. And why is that? I would like to know that. Repeating it, maybe it's because of the importance of it and things of that nature. I don't know. So, and the stuff that is similar to the, you know, the commandments and the law is universal. You know, I said it before, if you go to every culture, whether China, Japan, Africa, you know, ancient Greece, they're going to have basic principles. They're going to have the worship of deities. You got to honor those deities. You got to do something to make them happy. Don't killing. Don't commit adultery. It was a male-dominated society, so that was important. Don't steal and don't lie in the court system. When somebody asks you a question, those things you can find, you know, everywhere. There's nothing unique that you could find in the Metal Netta or in the confession that you could find that is like the Sabbath. That should not have any graven image. That's uniquely only Hebrew. Never mind, you can't find it in Kemet. You can't find it anywhere. The ancient world, they were in love with idols. That was part of their culture. You was the odd man out if you didn't have an idol in your home. So, you know. So there's certain things that in the Hebrew community is uniquely that you cannot find anywhere else. And the difference from the Nebuchadnezzar Confession is that is what is saying this is what I have not done. The commandments, and really the 10 commandments, when you go into the Torah, is really the 10 declaration of the 10 sayings. 10 sayings the Most High said to Moses, to the children of Israel. So it's not really commandments, because when you break it down, it's like 17 different things you shouldn't do.
All right, so let me ask you this. So basically, I get what you're saying with your research. What would you say to the people that be like, well, Elder Gabar, you just ain't study it enough. You just don't understand it, because you mentioned a lot of different points. So what would be your answer for the people that come at you at that angle and say, well, you just don't understand, or they feel like, oh, it's still a plagiarism from their aspect of how they understand it? What can you say to them direct to point it out, besides just different law, statutes, and commandments compare to those different laws? how do you say, well, oh, you don't read Metuneter, so how do you know? What sources can you give them?
Well, I will throw that back on the Kemetic community. If I don't believe, and from the research that I have done, that there's no plagiarism, and that's what you're claiming, then who fault is that? That's not my a good try to try to find plagiarism in the Kemetic in the Hebrew, and in my opinion, he did a horrible job. Now, outside of the typos and the stuff that he simply made up, he added words and things of that nature. In the place where he did get it right, he got one word right, like preeminence, bread. Let us make. I mean, there was once part where Brother Deacon Awanyawsap, one of the gods was says, "Let us make names for him, my son or my child," and he said, "Well, we took that and let us make man in our own image and our own and things like that." So there was one guy that said, "Let us make names from him," because he wanted to create a name for his son, for his offspring. And in the scripture said that actually, it says, "Let us make man in our own image." Totally different context and things of that nature. So.
In his book, he didn't even conclude the portion of saying, it just said, let us make. It didn't say, let us make names. We had to go find that. And it turned out that he was actually saying, let us make names. Right. It wasn't, let us make man. So.
All right. So basically, you throw it back on them.
Yeah, it's not.
Which seems like it makes sense.
Yeah. Why should I go do the research to prove you wrong? And that's what I was doing. Because when I was actually upset. Like, why do I'm doing this for Shaka? Like, for instance, there was one part that I found the quote that he meant to put there. And I saw the mistake. You get what I'm saying? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that work for him.
All right. So
find it.
So now that you say that, is there, because some people would say, oh, you all are just mad, because it's two things he did since, he been out big time. He showed... Well, he put out a book looking to show plagiarism, and he talked about King James being homosexual. He looked to show information on that. So, with that being done, some people will look at, oh, y'all just mad and y'all coming after Shaka because Shaka ain't the first one that said this before. Why y'all coming at Shaka so hard? What's so special? Damn, he hurt y'all feelings that bad with a book or with a PowerPoint talking about King James? Why y'all find the need that y'all have to come down on this brother when y'all was just quiet the whole time? Why did y'all feel like y'all had to step up?
Well, as you know, when I think it was maybe now like almost a year ago, close to a year ago, 8 months ago, right, when Shaka first made the claim, I'm trying all Hebrews and things of that nature, and he was making outlandish claims. And the Bible is, you can find it in the walls of Kemet. I'm going to prove that. He was saying all that. Matter of fact, I'm coming out with a book. So this, he was already yelling and screaming on these things before the book came out. And then I remember when when we were saying, what, let's get our, and it, we went out there not because the other brothers thought that he's it's going to be a challenge, or they didn't want to go and
basically nobody was responding.
To be honest with you, the Hebrews, he was just too busy at that time. They really didn't feel it to be that important to deal with that type of situation. So we said, okay, let's go in there and let's challenge Shaka. Okay, and when we first sat down, it wasn't really telling what we were going to be talking about. It was like the rules of our personal rules of engagement, and I was studying Shaka before, what kind of angle he goes in, and what he does, he quotes a lot of PhD. He quotes a lot of this book and but he never presented the actual evidence what led these PhDs to their statement. You get what I'm saying? So the root. Okay, if a PhD has done research and he said, through my finding, I found that, there were midgets in Egypt. Okay, but where's your evidence? What is your papyrus? Where is it? I need something to validate what you're saying. Shaka doesn't do that. He's not good with that. And for some reason, it's because my personal opinion, and when I dealt people like Shaka, it's because they don't want to show you the evidence, because the evidence is not black and white. It's gray. is the expert bringing their expert opinion on this matter. That's all that is. So once you actually see the evidence, it doesn't have the same punch when you don't know what it is. Once you see it, like, oh, this is what it is. Okay, I see your point, but there's another piece. It leaves room for conjecture, for question, and matter of fact, there was a video that was out that him and Shaka and Sinetta had a falling out because Sinetta said, "That's all you do, dude. That's all you put up. You just PhD up there and things of that nature. Throw in."
He was saying about how he was putting up white scholars.
Right. Now, I don't care about the white and black situation. What I care is I want you to present actual primary evidence, and then you could back up. You say, this is what's been discovered. These are what the experts are saying. Then I can respect that. And these experts should be peer reviewed. It should be, then I can respect that. If all you're saying is quoting scholars and don't bring in where to bring the evidence, we could go to, I could bring you other scholars and say otherwise.
Okay, so let's talk about evidence. Because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, if not that presentation, probably a different one, but I remember seeing him in Sinetta's home, his house, explaining about the Horus lock. And he was showing it with grown men. I don't know if you saw that part, with grown men having the Horus lock. Did you find he did a good job of proving that? And did that hurt you and Awanyawsap argument when you were saying that it was for a child? And if no, why?
Well, that was like a little stab of him. So we don't care about the Horus lock. We don't care to be wrong about the Horus lock. However, though, even Shaka said it is the lock of youth. So it represents youth. So, and to be honest with you, I could relate why Shaka loves the lock, because he is a youthful kind of dude. He wants to be young. He works out. He's a bit emotional. So that spirit goes with that lot. So I agree with you. When they cut off, in my understanding, we wanted to do more research on that. We didn't want to spend on the lock because we knew that this lock thing would detract the energy on him not answering as these things with the book.
So basically trigger.
Yeah, so he's hanging his hat in this whole lot thing because he feels that he could win that argument. But he can't win the argument of Herodotus saying that he saw bestiality in Egypt, Herodotus who we also quoted before. So he doesn't want to, so he's playing it safe. That's why we said, I could win this lot argument, but I'm not going to win the argument about my book or the quote that Brother Awanyawsap brought out in regards of the polar opposite of culture in Egypt. Okay. If you.
So being that you say polar opposite, because a lot of people say there was homosexuality in the Hebrew culture. The Hebrew culture had homosexuality, and as far as I know, they were punished for that and checked every time they had that. Have you gotten a response back for the homosexuality dealing in Egypt? And have you done any research to at least show, well, okay, not all of these people was like that. Some of the hierarchy, they were off. But was it frowned upon? Did you find any information to show, hey, this guy or this god is on there sucking his own penis, coming in his mouth, creating life? Was that accepted amongst the other Egyptians? Because then that would be a fair one to be like, well, okay, people go off and they make their own stuff. So, all right, we understand that wasn't a heavy part of the culture. Did you find any research like that saying, blocking it, saying, yo, we don't accept that? Or did you find research saying they embrace the homosexual activity?
Okay, I'm going to deal with the whole homosexuality in the Bible. There is no homosexuality in the Bible. There's no condone homosexuality in the Bible. Anybody that dealt with that lifestyle was, of course, dealt with. And we all know that the children of Israel went off and they did many wicked things. And I would assume one of those things, that's what they tapped into. But it was never ordained by the Heavenly Father. And I want to also address this whole thing about King David being a homosexual, and Shaka also did a presentation on that. We're still gonna do a thing on that, but this is what Shaka did. This is what's funny. You know, when they were knocking Brother Nasi Yeshuva when he debated SETI, and he brought out some sources on a website that was sponsored by a man who is a pro-gay individual. And he was bringing out primary evidence of Egypt that we checked ourselves and that do exist, showing homosexuality behavior. So just because it is a gay, and I think it's called tolerance.org, the same website that Shaka used to bring out the homosexual thing. And basically, you know, what they say is that these suspicions, these statements could have been David. He had a very weird relationship with Jonathan, and they don't ever say he was. They insinuate, because that whole organization dealing with tolerance, what they do is they go into history and try to find homosexuality in culture to say, you see, homos, we've been here all the time. Look at this famous person. He was famous, and he was homo. Yeah.
Did they insinuate with the Egyptian culture now?
No. The Egyptian culture is a playground for tolerance.org. It is a playground.
You gotta be careful.
You know, I mean, you know what I'm saying? If you're looking for homosexuality behavior or stuff that you could be deemed homosexual, Egypt is the place to go. Of course, the one that could beat that is probably Rome. Rome, take them out the box. Rome is Egypt on steroids. You know, they took Egypt and just ran with it. You know, so this organization, that's what they do. They go and try to find, and they believe that Abraham Lincoln was gay. They always trying to pull out things of that could be insinuated. He could have been homosexuals, you know, because they're a pro-gay kind of organization. So the only thing with the Bible, they always deal with the whole King David, because he had a deep friendship with Jonathan and things of that nature. But he never called him his lover. He called him my brother. They had and they grew up together in military. So, you know, it's like anybody that's been in the military, you born a certain bond with those men that you almost tested life several times. You save their life, they save yours. Of course, there's going to be a level of love there that's going to go beyond a woman and things of that nature.
Brother Daniela brought that out.
Exactly. Absolutely. Well. And not only that, because the Most High put the spirit on Jonathan, that Jonathan's supposed to have been the next king. He was the son of Saul, and Saul, you know, hated David, and Saul always wanted to kill David. But the Most High put the spirit on Jonathan. He respected his father, but he knew that David was the anointed king. He was like, so he was between two. A rock and a hard place. So he'd still die with his father, because when they went in war and they died together, and that's when, you know, David cried, you know, and things of that nature, because David really wanted peace. You know, we all know the story when he actually cut a little part of Saul's a robe and said, "Listen, I was that close, I could have killed you. You know, come on, let's work it out." You know, and so David, you know, he grew up because Saul adopted him. People don't understand. Saul took him on as a win. That's why he said, "You will be my son twice." You know, because he wanted to. That's why he go into the whole twice that he was married to Jonathan. And I mean, Shaka come up with some idiotic situation that you know is not true.
Okay, so basically, we have going down the line. They said King David was gay. Right. They look to say King James was gay. Right. Now, Brother Daniela also touched on that with King James not being gay.
Well, he in my opinion, he put the nail in the coffin. He did a phenomenal presentation. He did it here, and also he did it in Sinetta TV. You know, even Shaq, I think he said, "Well, yeah, he could. All right, I agree with you. He could have been black, and he could have not been gay."
All right. So now let's
saying that was way.
Right. So now let's shift, because now the new argument is, well, damn. Well, you know what? All right, whatever. But wasn't slavery going down in that time of King James? Was King James promoting slavery of dark skin quote unquote black people. And we seen with the brother Hashar giving the breakdown on how he showed the proof, like straight to it, exact, that the Catholic Church was going around looking for Hebrews of all the different nations, meaning the 12 different tribes. So is that a reason why King James had beef with the Catholic Church? And if so, where's the proof of that? Or did he just let the slavery run free and it was a free fall collecting our own, Hebrew brothers?
Well, King James, his castle was basically his prison. He didn't leave his castle rarely, because I think 7 times he tried to kill him, and attempted his life. So he had enough arms and an army to protect his region, but not to go out battle against the Catholic Church and stop that madness. He couldn't stop that machine. So it was a situation, and we take for granted that now, we could be in New York to England in a day. Back then, we're talking about months.
Yeah, but is there any proof that showed where he spoke out against it or tried to stop it?
I know the brothers. Yeah, I know the brothers. The brothers going to do. I know Donnie. I think he's going to touch on that, because I think in April 5th he's going to go into more us being rude and ruling Egypt. Now, Europe. Now, there were also wicked black men too, and you got to remember that. It was, what was going down in Egypt, really, if you really want to go in the last 1,000 years in regards of great or black history, I would go to Europe rather than Africa, because Africa was attacked later. The brothers in Africa were basically in peace for the most part. It was all the beef was in Europe, back and forth. And that's even the Moors go into that the original inhabitants of Europe were Moors. Europa, she was a black woman. We got, so it was the hostile takeover of the black nobles against the European Romans. And the European Romans, they won that fight and things of that nature. And in Europe, you had black and white people in Europe. It was it was not only black people, only white people, but it was who controlled the government. So you had white people with black people in Europe all the time, hanging out. Like it was not like a situation that was rare, but who controlled Europe? That was the issue. Either was a select black royal family, and things that, or was the Roman Catholic Church, which was European. So it was not necessarily. It was not
the primary source. Like, is there any books or anything in a museum where they could show, like? Oh yeah,
Nature, North Carolina Line, Sex and Race. But we're gonna be doing, a presentation, because these type. What went down in Europe and how Esau operated in Europe is really got to be textualized. It's not something that could be just simply explained away in an interview. It's really because it was a lot of deep situation was going in there, and it became a situation that there were certain brothers that were selling out to the Roman Catholic Church because they saw the power, and it was racial, but it was more economics, control, because you got to control the religion. Back then, you control the religion, you control the people.
Stop right there. Being that you say you control the religion, you control the people. Some of the questions that I encounter people asking or conversation people talk about, well, they have a lot of people that like to say, oh, the Bible is a white man's book. And if it's not, then tell me how those same Native Americans that they enslaved, those Taino Indians, all across the coast, the transatlantic slave trade, even down that Horn of Africa, all that, if those people are supposed to be Hebrew, how did they get their hand on that book and turn it into where we're feeding you back the book? Because they really didn't change that Jesus, the complexion of Christ, or the other people that's mentioned by their color, their skin in the book. So how did they end up taking that book and look to force feed it to you, and because you can't read their language, say okay, this is what it is. How did they gain power of that Bible that's supposed to be so powerful, that's supposed to be our scriptures?
Well, and the scripture says that that when Esau, the prophecy of Esau, he said that your brother will rule over you, but in the latter day you will break away from his yoke, right? From his yoke. So Esau was always subject to Jacob. You know, when you look into the history, we always had Edomites in submission. You know, you got John Hycravius, when he forced the Edomites to either, you know, convert or die and things of that nature. And Esau, it was always, when we dealt with Esau, it always came back to hunters, right? Like, if I was John Hycravius, if I could take a time machine and I could tell John Hycravius, nah, brother, you should wipe these people out because they're going to come and get to, you know, because that same group that eventually he forced to convert years later were the Herods. Because Herod was one of those lineage of those people, the Edomites, that they knew the culture because his family was forced to convert and things of that nature.
Oh.
So it's
basically a convert or die type.
Yeah, right. But I would have chose, you know, kill him, wipe him out, you know, because that's why the scripture says that generation to generation they will have he will have an indignation against Esau. And then he will be the board of wickedness. You know, there will be the people that Most High will always have a problem with, because the bottom line, the hatred of their brother Jacob.
Now, I hear you use the word brother. Now, that's a big controversy. Why a lot of people, not just the Kemites, but a lot of different, you got the atheists, which we're learning that not all, but some Kemites are atheists. And just with other different cultures, they're saying, well, you consider this white man your brother, and you are being punished by, quote unquote, your brother. Why are you complaining? That's one of the harsh you're doing when you didn't obey God's law. And is this person really so bad? Because if he is your older brother, am I correct? Esau came out first. If he is your older brother, why are you so mad? Because didn't you trick him out of his birthright? So how would you answer that question if somebody just say, well, you calling this person brother? I don't accept that. And if I do accept that, then why are you complaining your older brother's checking you for not obeying God's law? And you did trick him out his birthright, so of course he would be mad.
Right.
How do you answer that question?
Well, two things. We didn't trick him. We bought it fair and square. We asked him, sell me your birthright. He could have said no. And remember, he said, what does birthright have to do with me? Because Esau hated his birthright. So he didn't have much value for his birthright. So he sold it fair and square. Jacob did not trick him. He asked him, sell me your birthright.
What was the sale?
And he sold it for a raw piece of meat, you know, for meal, because Jesus came in, he was hungry, he wanted to eat. He said, okay, I'll give you the food, you know, I'll give it to you for for your birthright. So to show you that Esau he didn't view the birthright as any value. With Esau and things of that nature, as you know, exactly what you said is exactly what the GOCC says. In other words, that do not abhor Edomite. Don't worry about the Edomites. You still speak truth to power. You know, we don't put our punches with the truth, but we don't focus on Esau because it's not really his fault. He's doing the way he's supposed to be doing, and he's going to get his just due. He's going to get his judgment. We got to focus on gathering the lost sheep of the house of Israel, and don't focus what the white man is doing, because he's going to do what he's going to do. That's why, you know, we had discussions even yesterday about spies and who you know, within the Kemetic community or not. Within just the Hebrew, just with the black community, there's always going to be people that are going to be
Sellouts?
Not sellouts, but sellouts. You know, spy for the government and agents and things of that nature. We don't care about that. You know why? Because the war is already won. We're just going through the emotions. So whatever Esau bring at us, is not going to work. So once you have the understanding, you don't have to you don't abhor an Edomite, because
so what about
that's the scripture.
The relation aspect.
Well, yeah, we understand is that in the Hebrew culture, you got to marry within your tribe. So one thing has nothing to do with the other. When people misunderstand, especially
even if he's birth from the same mother, he's still not considered part of the 12 tribes.
Absolutely. I mean, you got to remember, Abraham many other sons. Those are not the chosen people of God.
A lot of people don't know that.
Right. You know, the Asiatic or Shemitic lineage, it's vast. But it was a particular lineage, in particular within the Asiatics, within the Shemitic, it was the chosen people. So there's a lot of Asiatic, like for instance, a lot of people may not know this or even agree to this, that many of the sons of Abraham went and invaded Africa and called Africa, Africa. Africa is actually a Hebraic name. You know, there's arguments about that, because I think there's 5 different theories on how Africa got Africa. You know, so but when you go into the book of Josephus, he talks about that. So the bottom line is that it's not necessarily being we're all brothers, because we're all coming out of the seed of Adam. So that's why we always deal with, you know, and eventually all men are going to be brothers. They're going to live in peace. We want world peace. The question is, the order and judgment must come first, then to be world peace. Right. And things must get much worse before they get much better.
So since you're talking about order, they have some people will say, well, damn, y'all don't like Ham. Y'all don't like the Hamites. And knowing the teaching of Israel is that the Hamites are the African, or at least some of them. Because some people say some of the Liberians are our people. Some of them say some of the Nigerians are our people. So what is the GOCC breakdown on that? Is Ham really cursed? And is Ham actually the Africans? And did he really betray Noah and was punished for that?
There's no curse of Ham. Canaan got cursed for what Ham did and things of that nature. But when Canaan is the son of, or one of the son of Ham. When Ham disrespected his father by seeing his nakedness and that, not cover him up and things of that nature. And there are different theories what happened and things of that nature. But we feel that he just didn't give respect to his father. He didn't cover him up like Shem and Japheth did. They walked backwards and covered him up. The Most High revealed that to Noah, and when he rose up, he said, "I want you to curse his son, Canaan." Now,
excuse me. Are you saying that the son paid for the sins of his father?
Yeah. And when you look at the like other books, like the Book of Jubilee, Ham, this is I think chapter 10, it goes into that even Ham realized that his son is cursed. He realized the prophetic understanding that what was happening, it was representing something. So it was like he thought that the Most High was attacking him because Noah cursed his son Canaan. But even Ham, when he realized, because when you go into the Book of Jubilee, Noah took 3 scrolls, and he told his sons, pick a scroll, and then that was dividing the lot, the land. So the land of Africa went to from the Nile River west went to Ham, and from the Nile River to the Euphrates went to Shem, and then the rest went to Japheth, right? Canaan did not do that. Canaan took the lot of Shem, and Ham said, "Now I realize that you are cursed, that my father was right," and things of that nature. And when you go into the Canaanites, the Hittites and things of that nature, they was one of the worst conquerors in the ancient world. The Egyptians fought with the Canaanites. They hated each other because they knew and they understood that race was cursed. And it was not a black issue.
They had to be cursed, or like.
Okay, what happened is that Canaan, and this is something that the GOCC, this is our stand, this is meant to be the stand of other Hebraic schools. Canaan began to, before the flood, the fallen angels came down and slept with the daughters of men. and then these became giants or demigods. These demigods destroyed each other, began to destroy each other and defile the earth. The Most High said, I got to knock this off and I got to destroy the earth and things of that nature. Those things happen again. Now in the scripture it says, because to our research, it says only 8 souls have survived, right? And there's legend that some of those giants survived after the flood, but those are not souls. They are called abominations. Okay, so some of them survive and things, and there's legend about that. Even the book of Josephus talks about other legends on that in more in depth for the brothers to understand why we believe this doctrine. Canaan began to sleep and mix himself with these giants. That's why when these Anakin, the sons of Anak. That's what also translated right. That's where you get the whole Anunnaki thing. So remember when Israel went to the land of Canaan and they were like, these men are like, we like grasshoppers to them. They were giants, right? They were giants in those days, right? After the sons of God slept with the daughters of man. So the land of Canaan began the Canaanites began to sleep with these offspring of these giants, okay, and form an abomination. And not only the Canaanites, but also Moab and Ammon, and things of that nature. They began to dwell because they figure, okay, we don't want to leave this lot. We want to stay here, so we need to tap into that technology that these fallen angels or these sons of these fallen angels are bringing forth. And there's legends about that.
Okay. See, now you just took it on a shift once you said technology. Because a lot of, I won't say questions, but ridicule is those brothers believe in aliens. Those brothers believe that there is ships coming back. These brothers believe in this type of doctrine, and you got to catch them at the right moment for them to teach it. Could you elaborate on that more, being that you said with technology, is these quote-unquote so-called aliens or UFOs actually IFOs, identified flying objects, to the people who know them? And were the people back in those times knew exactly what they were, and would that make the creator alien?
Every ancient culture has stories of being visited by gods. Every single ancient culture, and these gods giving them knowledge, and not only knowledge, but also sleeping with them and creating a race of gods, demigods. When you go into from a Greek culture, from the royal family of Egypt, and so forth, so on, that bloodline was always traced back to what? One particular god. Correct. Right? So therefore, every culture got visited by aliens. What we would call aliens, because aliens means someone outside. Correct. Right? That's all that is. Matter of fact, the word Elohim or Elohim comes from the word alien comes from the word Elohim. Okay, so those beings were outside creatures. Now, either every culture in the history of the world were copycats and they began to copy each other the same story, or something happened. Okay.
So basically, with the Hebrew story, why these group or this certain faction of aliens, the outer beings, the unknown, favor the Hebrews over all others, and why it seemed, judging by historical facts or stories that's been told, they're stronger than other aliens / demons, spirits, or what have you, extra or outer or inner dimensional beings.
You got to go back into the Tower of Babel. The Tower of Babel, at that time, everybody was united under one united front. Then Nimrod, Satan got in him, and he began to start creating what you call New World Order. And he became a god on the earth. So he realized the Most High, the gods, because it was always Alahayim. Every time you see the word there, it's Alahayims. So when the gods went to visit them, he said, okay, we see this could be a potential problem. Okay, let's confound the languages. Okay, and this is recorded in other, the Hindu language talks about this, and, or the religion and things of that nature. So something like this happened. When you go to the book of Jubilee, it says that and also the 12 patriarchs, because also each tribe or each son of Jacob also wrote a gospel, also wrote an epistle. You know, and they were also prophets. And in the book of one of the Nephtali, the tribe of Nephtali, he wrote there that the nations were divided into 70 parts, 70 nations, 70 languages, and there was a lot. They threw lots. Which angel is going to get which nation, or is going to govern which nation?
Is that where the book of Enoch?
Right. Exactly. So what happened is the Most High. We won the Most High. That's why it says Israel is the allot of my inheritance. So when he won, so when it's because that was a bet. Who's gonna win? Okay, you got this nation. You deal with the Hindus. Okay, you deal with the Japhites. You deal with the Hamites. You deal with these, things of that nature. And then the Most High won us, which really was Christ, because Christ was always the Word of God. He was the representation of the Most High. So that's why when he came down, said, "I'm the Word that came flesh. I'm the guy you was always talking to. I'm the captain of the host. I just came down to talk to you literally. But before I was dealing with you, I was the representation of the Most High." And not all prophets knew of the understanding of the Godhead. Some actually thought they were speaking to the God. It was only a few prophets they understood it was the Son. Like David knew, my Lord said to his Lord, sit at my right hand. So these things were revealed to only some of the prophets, that there was a lesser God or a representation of the main deity and things of that nature. Because go ahead.
So what do you say to the people that would be like, well, that's just arrogant of you? Where's your real proof? Where's your findings, archaeological findings on that? Where is, just besides scripture of the Bible, the Torah, where is the real deal, solid proof where I could dig up or go research for myself to prove that you're the chosen one, or I am the chosen one? Because from other people understanding, you're letting them know you're Israel. You're part of Israel. Rather you Puerto Rican, Dominican, Jamaican, Trinidadian, American, so-called African American. You understand? How do you tell somebody that you are the chosen one, or the people that's not the chosen one, you are not? Where could they really get a deep breakdown of that other than the Bible?
Now, I want to learn, Deacon, I want to touch on that, because I know that he knows a lot of history in regards to the Smithsonian and how much stuff they cover up. Okay. And let me just touch on this. If they would have found the same amount or half of the Hebraic artifacts that have been discovered in West Africa and also in America, like for instance in Europe, we would all believe that the Europeans are Israelites, or in China or in Australia, whatever. It's just ridiculous to the point that it has to be a conspiracy. The single most place of Hebraic artifacts been found in the Americas, in the hands of the Native Americans. Which is true. So if that was found in Europe in the hands of Europeans, there will be no hands down, there will be no debate. It's just racism. We have to acknowledge that's the case. The white man who is Esau is hate his brother, and he's going to get his just due. But the bottom line is just racism. But brother, you could touch on that.
Real quick, they also said the Catholic Church have a lot of these different artifacts, and every so often they release that.
Right. So back to what the elder handed it over to me for, with regards to the Smithsonian Institute, there was a person by the name of Powell. You can look him up. He was the first ethnographer in the Smithsonian, and he was the director and sole lead over all of the artifacts that was found in the Americas. And what he did was he instituted a legislation within the Smithsonian that all of the artifacts that were found pre-Columbus, that dated pre-Columbus, would not be honored, because they were saying that anything prior to European conquest was, you know, spookism, for lack of a better word. It was considered tainted. They would say that, you know, it was a hoax, or it was highly questionable. They put a lot of these airs of mystery and these doubt out there to not honor a lot of the fragments that was founded. So really, that cut a lot of the artifacts, you know, that we did have. So when you're dealing with stuff post 1492, and even later for America, because Columbus came to Dominican Republic in 1492, he hit the States, you know, a while later after that. So when you deal with that understanding, you have less artifacts to go off of. So when you deal with these amount of artifacts, they even covered those up and put those away. And when you look into a lot of the literature that was published in the 19th century, mid to late 1800s, there was a lot of books coming out. There was a lot of educators and people speaking out about the fact that these people that we know as the Native Americans are the lost tribes of Israel, and they found numerous works. I mean, one of the biggest deceptions is the fact that the so-called white man brought the Bible to us when they found Torahs intact in the Americas. Even if you go to the Newark, and this is one thing you could look up, right? You could Google right now online, is the Newark Holy Stones, found in Newark, Ohio. These were stones that were carved out of black granite. It had Moses' figure on it, and had the 10 Commandments all around the stone. And these go back to about 200 or 300 BC that they found. So right, and they found the same one. They found the same exact one in Jerusalem. They've found shekels. You know, they've found everything went from when the because as we understand in the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 13, it talks about the northern kingdom, which we know as the so-called Latinos and the Native American tribes. They fled Israel under Assyrian captivity and came here. Okay, so at that time, they were still dealing with the currencies and exchange that was prevalent in the community at that time. So they found stuff that dates back to that captivity here in the Americas. You know, and when you look into a lot of the names throughout the Americas, when you look at, for example, the Mississippi comes, the etymology of that word, because we know that a lot of these words like Arizona and Mexico, these are not English or Spanish words. These are transliterations for what the indigenous people were calling it when the conquistadors got here. So, but just for one example, when you look at the Mississippi, that's a transliteration that comes from the etymology of the word Mashapawa, which means the Moses River, which is interesting. You know, it means the Moses River in Hebrew, which is interesting because the Mississippi is the largest river here, and Moses dwelled where? In the Nile, right? And you also get a lot of comparisons. You get a lot of Kemetic brothers and Moorish brothers that make comparisons between the Mississippi River and the Nile in regards to, you know, both kingdoms, you know, America and Egypt. They'll compare the Mississippi to the Nile. So the Indians, the Native American Indians that were dwelling along that coast over there, they named it the Mashapawa after Moses. When you look at the word Cuba, that's a Hebrew word which is Quaba, which means large land. So when you look into the origins and the findings of all of these places and all of these peoples, artifacts and everything, even the Native American names, these are all Hebraic names. You know, they were speaking Hebrew, and it's no coincidence that when Columbus came here, his translators were Hebrew speaking people. You know, so there's journals with him, and so these things are, you know, replete throughout the Americas. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get into. The Moorish Hebrew connection, and you have the Asian Hebrew connection, which we know about the Mani tribe, and then you have the Hispanic Hebrew connection, because you got some Hebrews like. One guy I was talking to, I'm like, yo, you know, you're an Ephraimite, right? That's what I got to find out about you. You're an Ephraimite. He's like, no, I'm not. I was like, but some of the oldest tombs in Puerto Rico, they have Hebraic writings. So could you break down in order the Moorish Hebrew connection, the Asian Hebrew connection, and then the whole Hispanic Hebrew connection.
Well, I'll yield to my elder, but I'll just preface it real quick with the fact that you've had a lot of different understandings come forth within the past 100 years. You know, for example, the founder of the Moorish movement, you know, Noble Drew Ali, he came through the Hebrew Israelite understanding. So a lot of the brothers, when you're talking about the Moorish connection, they consider all books divine. So they deal with the Quran, they deal with the Bible, and they pull from those scriptures and claim to be of the, you know, inheritance, you know, with each script. So there's definitely a connection there, but a lot of that came in modern times. You know, as far as the Asiatic people, you know, we can trace Israelite lineage back through Asia. And in fact, we at the GOCC were of the understanding that the tribe of Naphtali encompasses the South Asian Pacific seas. So a lot of those people that we know as the Negritos, that are from Philippines, that are from Vietnam, a lot of these dark-skinned black people, and in fact, Hidden Colors 2 touches upon that a lot, the lineage of a lot of these people. You see Hidden Colors 2, they go into heavily about the black people that dwell in the Fiji Islands, that dwell in the Philippines, that dwell in, you know, Manila. They're all throughout these places, Thailand. Right, but the misconception is that these people are quote-unquote African, right? Now, I don't want to get into the semantics or whatever have you, but the true understanding that these are Israelite people, because they've also found a lot of Hebraic artifacts over there concerning within these Negrito tribes.
What was the name, brother? What was the name of the Fiji Islands before it was changed to Hawaii and all these other?
Right, you got the islands. You got this island off the coast of Chile, right? That dwells in the Pacific Ocean. They known it now as Easter Island, but it was actually called Pesach Island before they went there. And Pesach is what? It's Passover in the Hebrew. You understand what I'm saying? So even a lot of the ancient Hawaiian traditions, a lot of these brothers, they all had like Pele, not Pele, the lava god, what's his name, Lulua, I forget the name of it, but a lot of them have it all goes back to the Hebrew, man. You can find it throughout everything, you know. Now, as far as the Hispanic connection, I'm not sure what the brother was referencing. I know that there's been a lot of Messianic Jewish influence throughout the Latin Americas. You know, a lot of the so-called Jews have established themselves there. You got a lot of Khazarians throughout those places, in Latin America. Because I know you said something with the Hispanic connection.
Puerto Rico.
Right.
All right. Not too long ago, they about, I'll say 2 years now, they found 2 pyramids in the water. You know, the water start to recede. They found 2 pyramids in that landmass over there of Puerto Rico.
Right.
Then they also found from different earth shifting, because of course the water is moving. They were able to get access to different caves and whatnot that have Hebrew writings.
Right, and you also have the rocks that they found.
Exactly.
The whole coast of
right.
Right.
So, and they have a lot of different quote unquote UFO activity there. All right, and the older generation of Puerto Ricans say that's something spiritual, that's dealing with God. So could you touch on how that links up? Because, you know, it's one thing when you hear an elder just say, oh, that's of God and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. You understand what I'm saying? I spoke to a Puerto Rican lady. She was about in her 40s, and she was like, yeah, my grandmother taught me in Puerto Rico, we're Hebrew, how to dress, how to treat a man, how to grow up your son, how to grow up your daughter in a Hebrew way. So could you touch on that just based on the different findings that they have there and with the different extraterrestrial activity? Because some of them people say when they pray in Spanish, they see these entities come. Right.
And we want to say something?
I was just going to say something real quick. Like, I always found it interesting growing up, you know, being Puerto Rican myself, you find a lot of Puerto Rican people whose names is Ephraim. And Ephraim is Ephraim in Spanish. You know, so it's like our people already have an intrinsic understanding, and really all of our people do. This is not something new. You know, all of our people know that we are special people. It's just hard to connect it with all of the deception that's been going on. So, I mean, but I'll give it back to the elder.
And to touch on, one of the largest areas of UFO sightings is in South America, New Mexico, and in those areas. So you know, and you know, what I'm saying is there is things that's going on beyond the physical, and sometimes we see a little bit of the spiritual and things of that nature. But go back to the Moorish connection. You know, from my understanding is that during that time when there was different when black people were finally free, and they wanted to kind of form a movement. And one of the myths that when black people came out of slavery, that they did not know what to do and how to do it. I mean, we all know about Black Wall Street. They went up and running, ready to go. Right. You know, and just the white men felt threatened. And what would happen with slavery is that once the slaves who were the workers were now free, the white man did not know any skills because they used to it was always the black man. Right. That's why there was a large influx of Europeans at that time because they realized that the black people are going to increase in businesses and skills because they have all the skills. We've been sitting on our butt for the last 400 years to let them do the work. So now what happened is that at that time there was a need of nationalism. There was talk about maybe going back. There was a lot of talk in regards certain blacks wanted, you know, half the country. There was negotiating, even going to Mexico and establish, you know, their own black country and things of that nature. But the people that we behind setting those movements were Hebraic individuals. The commandment keepers and goes back. Matter of fact, the national. The Constitution, or there was a song was actually one of the brothers that actually was behind writing that was a brother from the Commandment Keepers, was a brother from that organization. In my personal opinion, you know, they needed what happened, like the Moors and organization. All the respect this is from my personal opinion, that every single time there is a movement of Hebraic liberation, another movement out of nowhere just come in and becomes a thing. Right. And I think the Moors was one of those things. This is my personal opinion.
Well, Taj Tariq Bey, he have been on record saying that as far as I know, he's the only Moor that I have ever heard say that the Moors are Hebrew.
Right. He says that. Yeah.
You understand? He's as far as I know, he's the only Moor that actually said that. Now, a lot of the Moorish customs or people that are Moor, they follow an Islamic way of teaching, which we also know from the Hebrews Israelite teachings that the Quran is really copying off of the Bible. Yeah. And in the Quran, like as you had with Imam Bashir, showed that the Quran is telling you, deal with the Bible.
And respect the people of the Bible.
So why do you think it's, based on what you say, do you think it's a infiltration of a certain group of people that say, they building up, let's start this?
Right. Well, like I said, you know, the as far as the Moors are concerned, I know they honor all books. They honor the Bible, they honor the Quran, and they look into all of these scriptures, and they honor all the prophets. So they do follow a more Islamic route, but I'm not sure if it's like an agenda, so to speak, as you put it. You know what I mean?
No, I'm talking about from infiltrators using that as.
I think the organization, because usually all the Moors, the Muslims, and even the Israelites, we are children of our predecessors, right? So the average Moor and the average black Muslim is just a child of something that was set up. You know, because when you look at, and that's one thing that they kind of walk Malcolm X up in regards of Islam, because when he went outside of Harlem, outside of America, and he saw another version of Islam, and he realized that this Islam was something that was created in America, okay, by a European, okay, with Farad, okay, that he realized that this is and it was during that same time that the Hebraic community was actually catching wind and things of that nature. I think a lot of these things are, me personally, are designed. I could be wrong, I could be right. That's my personal opinion, that these movements start, and once they get started, it just takes a life of its own. So I don't believe the Moorish people now, I believe they're sincerely believing in the doctrine, but you know, the essence of these doctrines, these movements, is very questionable. You know, for Rod, it's very questionable. Right. Okay, and who he is, and Brother Noble Drew Ali, you know, he has some questionable past about Masonic and dealing, you know, and things of that nature. And I'm saying they create this unique form of a culture, because the Islamic individuals in Africa and things of that nature, they will not recognize the Islamic religion is in America that's been established by these, which we'll consider French groups or French and things of that nature. But I believe that the average Joe that's out there, they have either grew up or adopted these cultures. I don't think they are spies or it just right now there's the residue. They're the residue of those movements. And I believe that it is a counterpart to the Hebrew movement.
So basically, we got it all touched down as most we have that we had to get in. On April 5th, what is the whole initial goal? Are you going to bring up, or the Hebrew Israelite groups are going to bring up the different aspect of many things of what we talk about? Will there be more in the future? What are your stands on that in working with different groups?
Well, April 5th is a memorial to the Exodus, and if there's any doubt, if you have any doubt, whether it be Kemet, Moor, Gnostic, atheist, that the Exodus did not happen, if you have any doubt, come on April 5th. We're gonna, bottom line. After April 5th, you're going to realize, you know what, the Hebrews are standing on actual historical evidence, and these things happen. So come April 5th, we're gonna let that to rest. And you know, we wanted to give a little flavor in the debate, but you know, time ran out and things of that nature. And there is also another extra 100 slides of questions that Brother Nasi and Brother Shah had in regard to the community, community. We might give him 50 because we can't do the whole 100. So on top of the 30 slides, we might throw another. So that's what it's 80, you know, and things of that nature. We may have to do a part 3 on that subject. So to show you that these brothers don't know what they're talking about, or they do know, but they, because of the love of their people, and knowing the population they deal with, they choose to ignore and not address certain immoral behavior that went on in Egypt. And I can respect that. But when you start attacking our book, then gloves are off and things of that nature. So you don't attack our book, we want to attack your culture. And we could leave it as that. You could express your culture and things of that nature, but if your fame, your ticket of fame is going to be, they stole everything from us, the Hebrews. You could find the story of Christ in the walls of Kemet, or if you're going to continue continuing these type of literature, these sayings, that's war's the one. You know, so we cannot come together until they stop doing that. Once they stop doing that, then we're going to be at peace.
So basically, it's going to have some questions to be answered. So you're that confident when you and the rest of the camps go up in there on April 5th, the National Black Theater, you're saying that the Kemetic community and even other communities, they got a lot of questions to answer.
Not only that questions they had about the Bible, the Exodus never happened. That Moses existed. That Joseph existed in the Bible. The Hebrews, I don't want to give it away, but come to April 5th. I mean, they just did a thing with Brother Ashar. Did a thing that they found Hebraic names of slaves, right?
Yeah, and the ships.
And the ships, right? Okay, that's not. That was a slave list of slaves, right? With Hebraic names. I'm gonna leave it at that. That was not the only time we have found a list of slaves with Hebraic names. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Well, all right. Y'all heard it here. Y'all heard it here first on the Underground Railroad. Brother Rich, he don't play. He brings you the right interviews with the right people. We're going to give out GOCC's contact information so nobody can have excuses, or we can't find these brothers. We don't know where they are. We only seeing them on it. No, like he said, they're people too, and you can find them. So please give out the contact information and where they could come to the gathering
of Christ Church. If you are in the Bronx area, our church is, the address is 446 Willis Avenue, Bronx, New York. We are there every Saturday. The doors open the service starts at 3. The doors open at 2, service starts at 3. And we also Tuesday between 6:30 to 9, 446 Willis Avenue. You can catch us online. Or our website is gatheringofchrist.org, gatheringofchrist.org, and also you could. We also have a YouTube channel with the New York area or branch is GOCC NYC. If you want to reach us, give us our email is goccnyc@gmail.com or yahoo.com. Also, I want to give a special thanks and shout out to my Elder Ricard Shiar, and all the brothers that have been supporting us and doing the work. Kwam Yashala. Oh, also, stay tuned for Maccabeestv. We're going to be launching that. That it's ready up. We have to just upgrade it. So subscribe to Maccabeestv. We're going to be having one word, Maccabeestv. We're going to be doing some powerful things and powerful interviews. That's in YouTube, Maccabeestv.
Real quick, April 5th, right, at the National Black Theater. Are you going to have any vendors or vendors welcome? And if so, do you have a contact for that?
Yeah, the vendors, they're going quick. So if you want to get a spot in the vending, there's two things. You have to be selling. You don't have to be necessarily Hebrew, but you have to be selling things that are embraced by the Hebrew community and things of that nature. You're not going to be selling pork or shrimps or lobster. You're not going to be, of course not. So, and that we're not going to be dealing with any kind of witchcraft or what we consider witchcraft. We don't want to offend anybody lifestyle or point of view, but there's certain things that we don't deal with idols. We don't deal with certain things. So if you want to be a vendor in the April 5th event, they're going quick. Send an email to goccnyc@gmail.com and say that you want to be a vendor. We'll definitely talk. And it's a small fee. I think it's only like $40, so it's very reasonable. And that will also include your entrance fee.
All right. Again, y'all heard it here first. Underground Railroad Production. I'd like to thank Deacon Awanyawsap.
Awanyawsap.
And Elder Gabar.
Gabar Yashala.
All right, we're here at Nicholas, 570 Fulton Street. Don't forget, check out the one in Harlem. Again, we want to thank Brother Rich. He could be a sucker sometimes. He behind the camera being chill tonight. But again, thank you. Come show your support on April 5th at the National Black Theater. And don't forget, you can get tickets here at Nicholas in Brooklyn and Nicholas in Harlem. Y'all have a good one. Hope y'all enjoyed the interview. Any questions more y'all have to get? Because we can always do a part 2. Am I right, brothers?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Indeed.
All right. I like to get confirmation.
Support Black Media. Support, Underground Railroad. Support, this is where we be able to shine and support each other. So definitely support Underground Railroad and Nicholas Bookstore, Brooklyn, and in Harlem. Absolutely.
That's right.
Kwam Yashala.
Kwam Yashala.
Kwam Yashala.